really liked the idea and promoted the idea to do this trip. West Middle School never did it.
Yeah.
So we did this trip to the beach, and it was a lot of fun, especially for us
Definitely. Oh, yeah.
us teenage boys who got to see all the girls that we were hitting on in bikinis.
Heck yeah.
Beside the point. But at that point, I wasn't comfortable enough with myself to go run and swim without my shirt on. So I swam the whole day with my shirt on. I'm to the point now where I'm like, I don't care. I'll run in, I'll wear a cutoff. I'll run into the beach, throw my, take my shirt off, watch my fat, jiggle everywhere, jump in, do a body slam, and
Yeah.
I become a beach whale because all the water goes up. I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care what other people think of me. I just, and in middle school I struggled with that, and in high school I kind of stopped caring,
Right.
and that's why I feel like I didn't get picked on, is because people would say something about me, and I'd try to think of something back, like Austin. We got a buddy Austin. Him and I shared a pottery class, and there was one day that I was super late, and in high school I always had a cup of coffee and a Hot Pocket, because when I used to take my Adderall, I took Ritalin. When I used to take my Ritalin in middle school, I would never eat in the morning. And that just made a trend to where I didn't eat usually in the morning. And I was trying to get out of that trend after I got off my medicine. So I would usually eat like 3 or 4 link sausages, or, just something quick that my grandma could, either my grandma could, heat up for me, nothing big. Like she said, she'll just throw a couple of those, like, I think they were Johnsonville, just not brats, but the little tiny like breakfast sausages.
Oh, yeah.
She'd throw some of those, wrap them in a napkin, and hand them to me as I'm running out the door. Well, there's one day I woke up super late and missed the bus because I stayed up really late. And so I had my coffee in one hand, and I didn't even have time to drink my coffee. So I left that in my car. My grandma was like, well, take the Hot Pocket. I'm like, I'm not going to have time to eat the Hot Pocket. Take the Hot Pocket. Ah! So I took it and put it in my pocket. And I went into my first class, which was biology. And like I said, didn't have time to eat it. So then I went into my pottery class, which my pottery class was really laid back. As long as you had your projects done, you could pretty much do anything. I mean, we made, with the old hard clay one time, we made a putt-putt course because we were done with our projects.
Yeah.
We had nothing to do. So I was done with my project. So I went back in kiln room, and I was sitting there eating a Hot Pocket. And I was kind of ashamed that, like, I don't know why, but I was trying to hide it. Austin walks in, I kind of hide it. And so now from him, and it's just a joke now, but I get the name Hot Pocket. And I mean, he'll walk up, and to this day, I'll walk up, and he'll be like, "Hey, Hot Pocket, what's up?" I'll be like, "Not much, just like," you know what I mean? So I kind of, and that's what I've noticed. I started to embrace, funny little nickname. Like, I don't let them get to me. My friend Anthony at the restaurant had this nickname, and I'm trying to remember what they called him. What was it? Anyway, it was pretty much calling him fat. And I thought it was a really funny nickname. I thought it was fun. And he got super mad anytime anybody said it. Man, I wish that I knew what that nickname was. I'll text him and see if he remembers. Anyway, so they would like tell him, they'd call him this, and he hated it. And one day he blew up on me. I said, dude, it's a nickname. It's really funny. I said, it's kind of creative for them to come up with it. I said, it's really funny. Just embrace it. He's like, it really bothers the crap out of me.
And a lot of, I think you can attest this. Most of my humor is, I like to make fun of myself a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Mostly just because it's usually safe to do. I know I'm not going to hurt my own feelings doing it. And typically, I've always found, too, if I do something stupid, which I do quite a bit, it's a frequent thing with me. If I make fun of myself for it, and it's not like I'm worried about getting made fun of for it, but
I remember it was Cello. They called him Cello because they were saying like he was in the shape of a cello, and I thought it was the funniest thing ever. I thought it was a funny nickname.
That is actually pretty clever.
But you know what I'm saying? But they were pretty much trying to call him fat because they said he had either like a big top half, kind of.
Yeah.
And I thought it was funny. I'm like, dude, they're just messing with you. They don't mean it.
Right. And
if it's all in good fun.
Yeah, and like you said, kind of where I was going. If you embrace it, and even sometimes, like, if you're worried about being made fun of for it, and you jump on it before anybody else does, you've technically beaten with the punchline. So anything they say after that, if he was one that created the nickname Cello, and then anyone else would say it, it's not so funny when, that guy says it, but when, the guy who made up the nickname says it, it's hilarious every time.
Right. Well, and it's funny because the whole kitchen staff used it.
Yeah.
And Anthony went through the stint where he broke quite a few dishes. And there was one day that somebody else dropped dishes. and the whole kitchen just roars with clapping when somebody drops a dish. That's just what happens. Whether it's a tray or whatever, something drops, people clap. And then there was a waiter. His name was Raul. He was back in the kitchen on that day. And somebody dropped something, and they started clapping. And Anthony walked in the kitchen, and they go, "Hey, it wasn't Cello!" And everybody started cheering. And I laughed so hard. And I think that was the day that he blew up on me. And I said, "Dude, it is just a nickname." He's like, "No, it's offensive." I said, "Why is it offensive?"
Yeah.
"Well, they're calling me fat." I said, "Well, you're fat. Get over it."
Yeah.
And I think to this day, if I were to call him that, he may still be a little bit bitter about it. He may not be. I don't know. I haven't tried. I haven't tested those waters. But to me, it's still a funny, creative nickname. I mean, who would have thought
I never would have thought to call someone Cello.
But I mean, and I just love how like they were like, "Hey, it wasn't Cello." Like, but I laughed. But he hated it so much.
Yeah.
And you know how much? I mean, granted, that place made him miserable. But I often think to myself how a little bit better off he would have been if he would have just said, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Just kind of embraced it. And when they're like, "Hey, Cello," he just walked in and was like, "Hey."
And that's like with me is like a lot of people ask like, "Oh, did you got a nickname with your friends?" And I'm like, yeah, people call me, I mostly change my name, like shorten it to, whatever they want to. But really beyond that, I don't have a nickname like Cello. And I think maybe it's because I killed the fun of making a nickname because most anything that you want to make like a joke about me, I like to think I'm on the ball with it.
Usually.
So, and people, be like, "Oh, yeah, you did this." I'm like, "Yeah, you're damn right I did that. And I also did this." I'm like, well, that's even worse.
You'll just hear us talking about Logan, and we'll be like, "Logan did that." You'll hear from the distance, "Damn right I did that."
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's like, and, and that's my thing is, like I said, I make a lot of mistakes.
Right.
I'm that kind of person that, I used to be very socially awkward, and I never had confidence in myself. Now, I'll make a decision, and if it was the wrong one, I'll own up to it. I mean, thankfully, it's been nothing, life or death involved me going to prison or anything like that.
Well, and I mean, like, you and I working on a car isn't the greatest either, because we've made a few mistakes together.
Oh, sure, and it's like, I mean, at least I haven't killed myself by putting my brakes on backwards or something like that.
Right.
I mean,
we just can't use a grease gun.
Yeah, so, even if I did do something like that, and it was my own fault, I'd probably have to make a joke about it. Like, yeah, I guess you ain't gonna stop me. I'm just a rolling train wreck over here,
Right.
As far as stuff goes, but I guess my closing advice to like younger kids and stuff, people who are worried about being called ugly or saying girls saying they look like boys or boys saying they look like girls and stuff like that is, I mean, especially at that young of an age, it really just ignore them. I mean, just think about the person who's saying it. Who are they to you?
Right.
I mean, and usually most people that do stuff like that, I mean, if they are your friend, they're probably not a very good friend if it upsets you so much. But, if some random person walked up to me right now, like, you and I walked out in your driveway and someone called me a stupid looking, monkey face fat idiot, I'd be like, good for you. That was a good one. I mean, that's new. I haven't heard that. So congratulations. Have a good night. Doesn't bother me at all. I mean,
or you'd walk through them and act like a monkey and make them laugh.
Scratch my armpits or something like that, trying to eat my own poo or something like that. Just whatever. But and honestly, if you're one of those people that's like a teenager and you're struggling and trying to like find who you are, I say good luck because I just turned 24 years old today and I'm still trying to figure out who the hell I am.
Well, and I mean, it took me. When I graduated high school, I'd taken this forensics program, and I'm like, I want to be an autopsy assistant.
Yeah.
And I'm not one. I might go back to school to be one day, but I'm a broadcaster now.
Yeah.
It took me, like I said, I failed out of the same class twice. And it wasn't because I didn't know that. The only reason I didn't pass was because I didn't take some online quizzes. So my study habits were horrible.
Yeah.
My memory is really bad. And the way specs was structured is there was no way I could forget that. There was always, it was the same thing every night. Not every week, every night. I mean, the homework was weekly, but you were there twice a week, so it was like, you got a reminder there and a reminder there, and so it was but it was also due at like midnight on Friday.
Yeah.
By like 11:55, you had to have it done and submitted. And then that's when it shut off everything because it was online. But, I'm a broadcaster now. And I'm still, like Logan and I are working on a little business adventure of like a lawn business.
Mhm.
So we're doing a little bit of that. I'm working on some broadcasting. We do the show together. So we're still trying to figure out who we are.
Yeah.
And and it's hard. It's not easy. But if you just take a look at yourself and go, okay, well, I don't like this. If you don't like something about yourself, for yourself, not because of somebody else. If you don't like something about yourself, change it.
Yeah. It's like if you,
reasonably.
Yeah.
Like if you don't like how much you weigh because you have a little bit of a belly, I think everybody's beautiful just the way they are. I've told my girlfriend that. She's like, you have to say that. No, I honestly, that's what I think. But if you're not comfortable with yourself and it's within your means to change it. So like say you want to lose some weight, you want to gain some weight, do so.
Don't immediately go to like I think what
Right.
you're saying is don't immediately go get surgery.
Right.
For it.
Don't immediately go and
screw
get
that,
like plastic surgery. But if you want to gain a little weight, lose a little weight, whatever. Or if you're at the point where like, my girlfriend, she really doesn't like how she looks. But with her diet, there's really no she can maintain her weight and she's good with that. And she's very self-conscious. And I always tell her, well, we can find ways to, not surgery to help you fix that if you feel comfortable. But I like you just the way you are.
Yeah.
And so it looking into yourself like I did, if you don't like taking your shirt off at the beach, why not? And I don't get me wrong. When I got done with high school, I got bored, and I had some money, so I hired a trainer and I got a gym membership, and I lost. Let's see, I weighed 270, and I weighed about 110 when I stopped, 210 when I stopped seeing my trainer, because of I got super busy.
Yeah.
Now I'm back up to 270. I'm, and I don't have the money right now. When I have the money and I find because I need someone to work out with. When I find someone to work out with, my goal is to get back down to actually lower than that. Because, yes, I will go, I'm very comfortable with myself. I don't like my, my belly that I have. So I'm going to change it. And I'm not pushing it. I'm not trying to starve myself. I'm going to do it, with a good diet and things like that. So if you're like that, feel free. I mean, I have a friend who, he's my best friend actually. We went to the Genesee County Fair, and we did the weight thing where it was like guess your weight. And back then and even now, I carry my weight differently than he did. And so the guy underguessed me by a lot, enough that I got a prize. And I'm like, woo, I got a prize.
Yes.
Because I'm like, I stepped on the scale and it's at 270, and I'm like, woo. He guessed me at like one. So it was outside of his, because he gets leeways.
Right. Yeah.
I think it's like
20, 30 pounds or something like
it's
that.
like I thought it was like 10 to
probably,
20 pounds.
Yeah, probably.
But he overguessed me, or underguessed me, and I'm like, "Ooh, I won a prize." He overguessed Cody.
Oh no.
And he guessed him over me.
Yeah.
And the whole night, and Cody didn't get a prize, and he was like, "Do I really look that big?" And I said, "No, you look fine." I said, just people carry their weight differently. I said that, that guy could have just been trying to be a douche, which he wasn't. He was just doing his job. But that really stuck with him, and I'm proud to say he is now half of himself. He literally lost his entire half of himself. He runs every morning. He is as physically fit as he can possibly be, and I'm very proud of him for that.
Yeah, definitely.
But there was something he didn't like about himself. And before, he was very comfortable with himself. He didn't care. He'd rip off his shirt, go run into the beach, whatever. He didn't care. But that really hit him hard. And from that day, we both swore to go on diets. And I went on a diet, and like I said, I lost, I got down to 210, and I wanted to go down further, but I didn't see how much I had lost. Looking back now, I look at a picture of me standing next to Brandon, who is a guy that appears on the show every once in a while. And I'm like, I was so skinny. But I still had a bit of a belly, so I really couldn't see my difference. And now I'm looking back, I'm like, man, what happened? But I, like I said, I can still go to the beach, rip off my shirt, jump in the water, do belly flop. I don't care. Now I'm not self-conscious about it, but I do want to change myself, and I'm going to do that in time. So I think my advice to anybody, especially if you're trying to, like you said, if you're trying to find yourself, good luck, because there's a lot of us out here that I feel like that's all we do as people are trying to find who we are.
And it
Um,
goes beyond figuring out what you want to wear, what your